Welcome to PAR Podcast, episode 74.41. PAR Podcast is an audio supplement for Public Administration Review, the premier professional journal in the field of public administration. In 2015, PAR will celebrate 75 years of furthering public administration research, theory, and practice. This episode features comments by John Budd, Professor of Work and Organizations in the Carlson School of Management at the University of Minnesota, where he holds the Industrial Relations Land Grant Chair and is Director of the Center for Human Resources and Labor Studies. In this episode, Professor Budd provides an overview of his research article titled Implicit Public Values and the Creation of Publicly Valuable Outcomes: The Importance of Work and the Contested Role of Labor Unions. This article is part of the Symposium on Creating Public Value in a Multi-Sector Shared Power World, which can be found in Public Administration Review, Issue 74, Volume 4. Professor Budd considers the range of public values on work and the options for creating work-related publicly valuable outcomes.
My name is John Budd, and I'm a professor of work and organizations at the University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Management. My article is titled Implicit Public Values and the Creation of Publicly Valuable Outcomes: The Importance of Work and the Contested Role of Labor Unions. First, a little background. I was trained as a labor economist, but I now consider myself an industrial relations scholar, which means I appreciate multidisciplinary approaches to researching many aspects of work. Much of my own research has focused on labor unions and public policies on work. This informs my perspective on the broader topic of public value and captures the areas of expertise I bring to this topic. So, I'm going to outline a few of the key arguments in my article. One of my key arguments is that considerations of public value should not overlook work. It's easy to dismiss work as the daily grind or as an economic activity separate from the rest of one's life that generates commodities, services, and income. But this is really an excessively narrow view of work. Work can be a source of personal fulfillment and psychological well-being that provides more than extrinsic monetary rewards. Work is a way to intimately care for others and to serve others through volunteering, civic service, military service, and other means. On an even deeper level, work can be a source of identity by helping individuals understand who they are and where they stand in the social structure. These deep and very public aspects of work mean that work should be the subject of public values. A second key argument is that because work should be a robust element of discussions about public value, then non-market institutions that can create work-related public value must also be part of the conversation. In the domain of work, the traditional non-governmental, non-market institutions for creating public value are labor unions. I argue that labor unions can create public value by 1. Bargaining for economic fairness, 2. Creating workplace participatory structures that promote voice and democratic values, 3. Playing an active role in the democratic process, and 4. Pushing for democracy where it does not fully exist. Note that this highlights that creating public value can be a complex, multi-layered, or multi-level process. At the same time, as with all human institutions, there is the potential for excesses and abuses, so society should worry about safeguards and about achieving a balance with other concerns. I address this in my article as well. My third key point is that the public values I have articulated pertaining to work and the roles of labor unions in creating public value are highly contested. Just look at all of the debates over public sector unions in Wisconsin, Ohio, and many other places. In other words, there's not a widely shared normative consensus on work-related public values. Rather, there are competing visions of what the normative consensus should be. As a direct consequence, the role of labor unions and other institutions in creating public value are also highly contested. Ultimately, these differing visions of work-related public values and work-related institutions are rooted in competing beliefs about the nature of work, the objectives of the employment relationship, and how the employment relationship works. To understand the debates and conflicts over work-related public values and to pursue increased consensus on how to create public value in this sphere, it is essential to make these foundational beliefs explicit. I do this in my article. This then leads into what I think is my most important implication that cuts across different areas and sectors. Values on values matter. Sharply contrasting perspectives are rooted in different assumptions and models of human behavior, markets, and other key dimensions. It is important to recognize these different values on values and to make them explicit. And admittedly, this explicit Explicitness is not a magic bullet, as it won't make these differences disappear, but it's a better basis for healthy and informed debate. So making these values on work-related public values explicit is a major element of my article. In practice, however, there is more at stake than improved discourse. Each of the alternative perspectives prioritizes certain interests over others, so debates over public values in the work sphere are inseparable from conflicts over economic, political, and normative power and the resulting material outcomes. Consequently, there are many voices seeking the moral legitimacy and social support to define public values on work in sharply divergent terms, and the resulting implications for shaping markets, laws, and institutions means that the clashes between different value systems are intense. But the public importance of work for individuals, their families, and our societies is too important to let these challenges deter the quest for publicly valuable outcomes consistent with our public values, whether through the reinvention of traditional labor unions or the development of new organizations and institutions. So that's an overview of my article. I hope I have stimulated your interest and that you find the full article valuable. Thank you for listening.
This concludes PAR Podcast episode 74.41. To listen to additional episodes and learn more about Public Administration Review, please visit us online at publicadministrationreview.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at PA Review. Thanks for listening.